Hi Sagittarius, my name's Chandler. This is your June 2018 Taroscope, or energy reading. I'm picking up a lot of energy from you guys. You guys have, been soul searching lately, I feel like. The first card that comes up is Daydream. So these are from my angel card deck, and I just love them because they give a very helpful insight into the kind of energy you are going to be feeling this month. So in June, there's a very daydreamy aspect, and I kind of sense this even before I turn on the camera. It's somewhat esoteric for you. Sagittarius has a way of constantly wanting to expand and experience newness, when I feel like this quality in June is kind of referring back to imagination or some kind of very ethereal energy that allows you to sink a little bit deeper, maybe feel things out a little bit more, and not focus on what's next, right? It's kind of this sultry even energy that's coming to you. So daydream. It requires you to be very imaginative in whatever area of your life this will cover. I have yet to uncover very many cards. 4 came out before I turned the camera on. I usually am a very slow shuffler, so I like to at least pull the bulk beforehand, but it seems as though your guides really want to have this one-on-one conversation with you. So in real time, I'm going to be seeing what exactly comes out for you, but overall, I'm getting this very soul-searching energy. There has been somewhat of a disconnect, okay, where you've been investing your energy, where, who and when you've been investing your energy, into what things and people that may come up in this reading. So investments of energy is one topic that I'd like to speak with you about. How you address yourself, how critical you may be in June is another indicator that you can make great strides within your personal value or self-worth. And it can reconnect you with yourself, because I feel like because you have been so deeply, intrinsically soul-searching recently, there is this big question of how does this resonate with me in very many aspects of your life? How does that resonate with you is going to be a question that you probably ask yourself about quite a few things. So let's read this daydream card. You will more easily hear and receive our messages if you daydream regularly. Relax and open your mind to receiving without directing your thoughts. Just notice any feelings, visions, or ideas as if you were watching a movie. This is the seed of creativity. And you know what? Sagittarius is super creative, and we know that you know how to relax and daydream without examining your thoughts. But I feel like in the recent months, you guys have been very critical. You guys have been very under the spotlight, focusing on growth, focusing on ways in which you can improve. And in a way, it's been energetically taxing. In a way, you made great strides. And then in another way, you've had to sacrifice some of that enjoyment, that spontaneity in life, which we know you enjoy so much. And as a Sagittarius, you really need it. You need that spontaneity. You need that element of surprise to keep things interesting and to allow for personal growth and expansion. So I'm going to pull one from my Spirit Oracle deck. There's a few that want to come out, but I'm going to keep this one. It says Angel Over Me. So some of you may be having some instances within the month of June that put you in a risky situation, or it could potentially put you in an uncomfortable situation where you're depending on your prayer, you're depending on the guidance from your angels, you're asking or you're seeking answers. And this is their way of saying, we hear you, dear one, we hear you, we are with you. Don't worry, don't fret, don't berate yourself with criticism. This is a part of ultimately what is your life lesson, or a time in your life when it's really important for you to be gracious and gentle with yourself. Given the current circumstances, you might be trying to improve so much that your thoughts and the angle in which you're seeing your personal growth is just a little skewed. So the angels actually offer you compassion during this time. They tell you, don't worry, don't fret, we are with you, we're over you, we're guiding you, there's nothing to worry about. Also, there's a certain sensuality in this card. Obviously, this woman is laying bare naked as this angel is above her, giving this kind of vulnerability to the card. Knowing that there is nothing in which we hide from the angels. There is nothing that we can conceal from our guides. They, in fact, know us much better than we do. So if there is some uncomfortable situations, I believe your angels are just simply trying to tell you, it's okay, we understand, we know, okay? We know we're right with you. Don't worry, don't fret, don't will away your power because of one thing that happened that might have been uncomfortable or whatever. Just simply try to go with the flow, trust your instincts, and know that all is being worked out, even if it's somewhat behind the scenes. Let's read the back of this card. So it's a protection card. That's why I think the word risk kept coming up, because there could be a risky situation, or there could be something that is just so far-fetched or unknown to you that it might feel a little out of your element. You might feel actually like you don't know what you're doing. You might be a little naive or feel out of your element. So if this is the case, if some of you are trying to expand in different ways that are new and may pose potential unfavorable feelings, this is a card of protection. So know that you are being guided. Angel wings surround you. Trust. Replace fear with love. You are eternally held, safe within the arms of an angel. I feel as though Sagittarius is very angelically guided right now. You guys have a lot of work with the angels because, spirit guides are different than angels. They just carry a different energy. And, Sagittarius, you guys are so strong and strong-willed. It takes a strong character to work with you. And not a lot of time do I see a real strong, angelic force in your life, right? Because you guys are just so free-willed. It's not like the angels ever have to interject in your life usually. But I'm feeling that your will is maybe weakened by something this month, or you feel as though you're just not as strong as you once were, and you might be having some doubts, and that's where the angels step in. They don't want you, Sagittarius, to be down on yourself and not know who you are, because a Sagittarius that doesn't know who they are is truly lost. You have to have a sense of identity to be a strong and aligned Sagittarius, so that's what they're helping you with this month. So the 3 of Earth comes up in reverse to begin the month. Okay, so in the beginning of June, you should be seeing some returns in your investments, and they may not be favorable. Again, if you guys are facing some hardships or some risky endeavors or some investments that have not been fruitful for you, this is something that may be coming up for revision or for your interest to take interest in. Because this is overall a long-term card, showing you that this change that's necessary is going to be for your overall well-being. But it's a habit or some kind of a new practice that you might need to implement in order to just really carry this on for long-term. So the kind of risk or the kind of surprise or feeling that you have associated with the Angel Over Me card is coming through within this card as well, saying that where you have invested your energy may not be very good for you after all. Where the time, the people, the places that you've been investing your energy have overall not reaped the best rewards for you, so it's time to shake up what you're investing your energy in. The 3, again, speaking of Trinity, divinity, okay, fated events or necessary events to better steer you in the right direction. But also, I like to give the example of a triangle, because a triangle in geometry or in a geometric shape is the most sturdy or foundational structure that we can create in this reality. So, when we think of a triangle, it is equal in proportion, it is harmonious, right? And, is just very sturdy in structure. So we can expect long-term that to uphold other shapes or other structures. So it's talking about a certain foundational energy, importance, of importance coming into your life. Let's see if we can clarify this a little bit more. I shuffled my cards ahead of time, and I will say that they were just very calm. Very calm. There wasn't a whole lot of activity. It seemed as though they were sturdy, they were relevant right off the bat. It wasn't surprising, or they weren't flipping out. It's kind of like you guys are feeling a little muted, more muted than usual. Okay, so the Magician coming up in reverse to further clarify the Three of Earth. What does this mean here? Okay, so whenever the Magician comes up, it always means that you either have all of the tools necessary or you feel as if you don't. When the Magician is in reverse, it speaks of needing to learn, needing to grow, needing to expound the horizons. Okay, maybe you're thinking a little bit too plainly. Maybe you're thinking a little bit too simply. Maybe you're not applying yourself in the right way. Maybe you're having self-doubt over your capability. This can reach so many levels of our being when it's the Magician, because it's a very prominent card. It is the first card, or the number 1 of the major arcana, just behind the Fool. Speaking of a graduation of sorts, right? A evolution of the Fool, but still a work in progress. The Six of Coins, Ace of Coins, Chariot, and the Tower. Okay, so the Six of Coins and Ace of Coins in reverse, meaning that these habits of yours are not going to prove to be fruitful for you in the long run. Some of you are facing a real eye-opening experience. Some of you are really getting the truth hitting you right at home this month, okay? There's no running from it. There's no denying it. And the best way to approach this is to just be brutally honest with yourself and just, sit in that realization when you have it. Because it's going to prove to be very beneficial for you, but it might be uncomfortable, right? The Six of Coins relating to home and family, there might be a potential for you to make some extra money and you miss it, right? Or there's like this opportunity that is past, or this abundance that you could have had, but maybe you steered yourself in a different direction and missed it, or missed the ball. This can also indicate that you're having to start from scratch, right? The Ace of Coins, meaning that in its origins, it may have looked fruitful, but that ultimately it's kind of like starting at square one again, or not being able to show anything for the interest that you've or investment that you've made in a certain area of life. So you're really looking at these indicators this month and saying, is it time to leave? Is it time to go? Is it actually time to put an end to this? Because the Chariot upright, it seems as though you know that this is a choice you need to make, or that there are 2 different options and you can make one of them. One being, a little bit of a heavier option. It could be a harder path for you to take. One being a lot easier and maybe not as fruitful in the long run. So these questions are coming up in this reading so that you can further evaluate, what does this mean to you? What does this mean to you, Sagittarius? A lot of you are revamping your health, right? A lot of you are really taking a stand in your health, happiness, welfare, physical, and spiritual, mental as well, and emotional, just in very many ways. Your overall health has meant so much more to you recently than it has maybe in the last few years. So this upheaval of energy is really asking you to put into work, put into practice, invest in this, take this seriously. This is no longer an option unless you want to keep reaping the kind of rewards or the kind of outcomes that you're already receiving. And by the look of the Tower, you're building something off of an unstable foundation. In the way that you're going about this, or the direction that you have been heading in, it just seems like it's going to come down. This Tower, it's built on top of what was originally a very balanced structure. It was meant to, it was purposeful, it was useful, and in the long run, or as time went on, these layers, that weren't meant to be there, or that were trying to be fit in place and just didn't quite add up, are loose and they're on fire and it's coming down. It's not going to work in the long run. And I feel as though this Three of Earth and the Magician, they're symbolizing a great momentum behind the change that's necessary in your life. And a lot of you could be feeling this extremely heavy, right? And I don't necessarily always like to lead my readings with that, but I feel as though the reason this is coming up is because you will ultimately be much better off once this recognition or once this realization is just processed and digested and dealt with, And you guys, you are very powerful, you are very potent when you believe in something. And I'm just here to validate that these changes are so necessary, and they'll be leading you towards a very fruitful and much more satisfying way of being. The Four of Water comes up because what you are experiencing after this Tower moment takes place is this self-evaluation, this self-reflection, and it's a good thing because you're finally looking at yourself not as though your weaknesses are defining you, but your adversity is defining you. And the way that you go about handling this adversity, or the way in which you carry yourself through the emotional turmoil and changes surrounding you, is ultimately what defines you. You have a decision, you have a choice, and sometimes the only hand you have in what unfolds is how you react. So I see you reacting in a very graceful way. You're looking at yourself like you're very pretty, you are very graceful, you handled that really well. It's this positive self-talk. And it's affirming what you hold very dear to yourself, okay? So, and it's not just coming from a very egoic perspective. Like this person, you could very surfacely say that he's admiring himself. Well, it goes a little deeper than that. He's showing himself the parts that he loves. He's showing himself the parts of himself that he appreciates. And he's just wanting to further exemplify that or add to that in his life. And it's just this defining moment of what good qualities you have, and maybe putting those to better use, because it seems as though with the Magician in reverse, you guys have some really good qualities that have been so on the back burner, and whether that's socially, financially, within your career, or in your partnerships, it's kind of like your really good qualities have been overshadowed. And with the Five of Wands, I'm really getting this validation for you, that you have been in a certain position that is no longer working for you, with people that aren't really benefiting you. They're putting you down, or they're making you feel inferior, and you're all trying to get noticed. It's this scramble, right, of trying to make something work that is just falling to bits as you're trying to assemble it. It's just not working. And the chaos has surmounted, and you've gotten to a point where you finally make a decision whether you stay in this chaos or whether you leave. And what I'm seeing with the Five of Wands in reverse is that you decide to leave. You finally do make a decision. It's validated. It feels like a release. It feels like a relief. And I'm really happy to see this, because this is very good for you. Especially with it being a 5, it means it's bringing great change. And what we see with the Four of Water and the Five of Wands is that there's progress being made. There is significant progress being made. And what comes up next is very potent, and I feel like is somewhat of a cardinal energy, so it could last you a while if you put the proper energetic investments into this kind of transition. Self comes up in reverse. This is a very Sagittarius card. And what this means is, for a Sagittarius, it is so important for you guys to be centered within yourself. Know who you are. Know what you stand for. Know how you connect with yourself. And to be lost is to be a very sad Sagittarius. It's to be a very, to feel disconnected from yourself is to feel disconnected from life in a Sagittarius way. So what this energy is bringing to you is a chance to rediscover what that is. maybe you are looking at yourself, wondering what it is to be proud of yourself. Maybe it's what it is to really feel confident and beautiful in your skin again. Maybe you've made some mistakes. Maybe some of the hardships have really gotten you down in the past couple months. Maybe the kind of partnerships you've had have been draining you and taking away from your self-identity. So the Self card comes up in reverse so that you have this breaking point, or you have this moment, right, that is pivotal and critical for your self-identification and growth. The Uranus in Taurus can also be helping you along with this transition. Okay, so these cards are really kind of like popping out. But the Uranus in Taurus transition that we're feeling could be helping fuel some of these desires within you to reconnect and reestablish what it is to be a Sagittarius in this moment and in your lifetime. So the Four of Swords, Three of Swords, and the Fountain represent a digression, okay, or an inflammation, all right, within yourself. The Four of Swords and the Three of Swords gaining a lot of momentum, a lot of clarity, a lot of closure, right, over a certain situation or a certain question that you've been having. And this could be very well regarding your place in partnerships, your place in your career, something that's been maybe a little looming, right, over you, knowing that this work that needs to be done is going to require a lot of time and patience, and for you to dive deeply, more so than you have fairly recently. This is an opportunity to reconnect with yourself, but in a lot of ways, when we make the most significant growth, it can be because we're being pushed out of our comfort zone. It oftentimes is because we're facing adversity rather than going with the easiest choice. And I see you guys being very brave and courageous within yourself in facing what it is that you need to face and doing your due diligence now, and making a lot of significant growth because of that. So the Four of Swords and the Three of Swords, even though they're in reverse, I feel like this is signifying that you guys will be making some significant growth within your emotional realm, within your heart space. A lot of you may be leaving a certain relationship and having it solely be for the fact of personal growth. Maybe this person has been holding you back. Maybe, you know, the efforts that you guys have put toward a certain destination or goal has not reaped the kind of rewards that you've wished for it to reap. Certain dissatisfaction, okay? And I'm feeling that this could be very relational, because what you're doing is this very self-reflective quality, but it's in the connections we have with other people, okay? With others around us, these clarity moments that others are actually showing you. That will better allow you to have a firmer perspective via the contrast of you and your life. So again, needing time and space, meditating, taking that time which is very reflective, and applying it to yourself when necessary or when available to you. Any time that you have this month to really ground or feel your way through things is going to benefit you immensely. But you might have a hard time getting there this month. There's going to be a lot of chaos. That's why I feel like these are in reverse, because it's not going to be the easiest thing for you to do. And just like the Chariot we were saying, there is a harder and more difficult option for you, or there is the easiest path that it might not prove to be as beneficial for you in the long run. But I see, even though these are in reverse, that you guys are making the right decision. Okay, so it's kind of this toss-up, right? It's this sacrifice, right, that's necessary in order to gain something that is more uniquely yours. The Three of Swords coming up because you guys have been hurt, right? You guys have been cut off. And one of the things that Sagittarius is amazing at, but is not the best quality, is this detachment, right? This, I don't care about it, I'm fine. But inside you might be crying. Inside you might just be falling apart, but on the surface, everything looks cool, calm, and collected, and you might even seem happy or exuberant to some people. So it's very deceiving. And what this card shows me is that there are some big decisions or big maybe even you might even consider them mistakes, right? Just these habits or these decisions that you've made in the past that you have to deal with, right? It's this reconciliation of what has happened, needing to go back there, needing to really feel that and open yourself up to either learning from those lessons, moving on, moving forward, or rehashing them, reopening them for reevaluation. The Three of Swords, again, this very stable number, Trinity, divinity, knowing that there's something tangible here that you were meant to go through, but maybe you're refusing or neglecting to look back and actually learn from it. So it's keeping you stagnant, it's keeping you closed off, and it's really not helping you. With the Fountain in reverse, it could symbolize that there's an infinite amount of potentials once you tap into what it is that you truly believe and feel again. For some reason, I get the sense that you guys are maybe hiding from yourself. You guys may be hiding from others, hiding your true identification and really, really needing to let it out. The fountain, it's very symbolic of a fountain. It starts at this origin and it spews in this explosion of water, once it finally is released. So the fountain can symbolize a blockage, a blockage of potential because of this emotional unavailability that you guys are notorious for when you're hurt. So it's so obvious, Sag, and I'm sorry to have to be the one to say this, but I validate this for you, and it's obvious that you need just a little bit of growth and maybe even a little recognition, right? Because, you firstly need to know that these things are going on within you, and then you can address them. And sometimes it's easier to be unaware of them than it is to address them. But, this June, it's going to be very potent, it's going to be very powerful. And so hopefully, this does help, even though it might sting a little bit or it might be a little confusing at first. The Seneschal comes up in the very last position of the month. Okay, so June, towards the end of June, entering into July, you will feel so refreshed. You will feel anew. There's a very earthy quality. You'll be very grounded. This card is kind of unisex, right? You don't know whether it's a man or a woman that is the Seneschal, so it's very ambiguous in that way. But what it does speak of is a leader, right, of sorts, and with a keen compassion for its community. The kind of person that the Seneschal is a direct link to the leader. It's actually, the Seneschal serves as a helper, right, a assistant to the king or to a queen or a leader or a chief of a community by being the spokesperson, by being the very vocal person on the other side, lending its abilities and services to that to the community that the leader or the king or the chief may otherwise not have time for or not have the ability to do. So it's the king or leader's right-hand man or woman. And the only thing that I would say the Seneschal is lacking is the ability to actually become the leader. So that's kind of this distinction in the card, is that they're so close to the leader that if they wanted to advance or if they wanted to level up, they would be in direct competition with the leader or the chief or the king or queen. So instead, it's this very complacent and maybe content position that the Seneschal holds, knowing that his efforts or her efforts go to the greater good, and they're not in competition. They're not looking necessarily to level up or to prove themselves. They've already made their bed. They've already seated their throne, so to speak, right? And they could be very content with where they're at. And it's kind of this feeling that I think you guys need. You guys need to be a little bit more grounded. You guys need to have compassion for yourself and where you've come from and how far you've gotten, even if, maybe your ego or maybe, this very harsh side of you says you need to do more, you need to be more. Give yourself the kind of credit that you really deserve towards the end of the month. The Sun also is this very mystic figure. So if the community needs a mystic, the Sun is who they go to. If the community needs the holder of keys to unlock a door, the Sun is who they come to. If they need quick advice or a very high and wise perspective, the Sun is who they go to. So there's a certain wisdom that is associated with the Sun of no longer needing to compete or criticize, but instead welcome and be open to those he or she can help in the moment and lending a hand. And I feel like that even may be the key to make yourself feel a little bit better towards the end of the month is joining some kind of group or some kind of goal, right? Some kind of association, putting yourself to good use, okay, will really benefit you. Let's see if there's any clarity on that card. Any clarity on the Sun for Sagittarius? Any clarity on the Sun for Sagittarius? Again, this energy is very fluid, and I think towards the end of the month, you should be in a much better place than the beginning. You'll have some realizations that will really help you clarify through the month. So judgment is coming up, okay? So again, we're kind of talking about this very harsh and critical aspect of you that has been really out of line or out of touch recently, that is really demanding, it's really harsh, it's really critical, it's unfair, and that needs to be cut out, okay? So the Sun again, is very neutral, is very open, is very wise, and it doesn't quite lend its energies to something that's very fleeting. It has a very firm perspective on the things that last. So again, this energy of self-criticizing or judgment needs to go, and it's on its way out. The King of Cups, okay, to further clarify judgment and the Sun is just saying that the next evolution of you is to be a very firm, stable, emotional person. The King of Cups, fortunately, is not afraid to express himself. He knows himself very well. And, given the kind of waves that are surrounding him, he's in a very stable structure. Firstly, there's this circle, meaning a cycle, or a unison that's taking place that is really beneficial to you when you're in the midst of waves and water. They kind of just flow over you because you've created this potential or space for yourself. The triangle, behind him, I'm glad that I spoke with you about the triangle because it's a very sturdy structure, and regardless of how these waves go on around you, you're going to have much firmer foundation to rely upon in the future. This person is also very business savvy. As you can tell is how he's dressed. He's in a suit. So somebody is going to be either coming into your life with a lot of water in their chart who will be giving you a lot of stability. Maybe it's a new financial paradigm. Maybe it's something having to do with your career. But it's something that will provide you a lot of confidence, a lot of structure, a lot of know-how. And it will make you feel very savvy in the way that it's being given to you. The Lovers, okay, very Gemini card, but also speaking to connections, knowing that there's a certain energy associated with a connection when we're vulnerable, when we allow ourselves to connect deeply with another. I think Sagittarius, unfortunately, is notorious for avoiding connections when they don't feel strong within themselves, or not allowing themselves to be vulnerable enough to connect very deeply with people. So it takes an extra effort for someone to really connect, really make this long-lasting and stable connection with another. This also has a lot of fire energy to it. Even though the Lovers is not necessarily a fire card, I tend to feel that this is a very transformative card in the way that it's delivered, as well as just transformation on the inside. Okay, something that is very intimate. Okay, a relationship that is very intimate. and getting in touch with how that feels. Strength, okay? Taming your inner lion, taming that part of you that wants to just explode and express itself unconditionally, right? Not thinking of the consequences. This woman is obviously taming her lion. She's standing very strongly, and the lion itself is very confident. What happens when a Leo, right, or a very fiery sign is out of alignment? Well, it becomes very survivalistic, animalistic, and it can also be very irrational or unstable and be harmful. So taming this side of you is going to allow you much broader scope of life. When you're outside of the survivalistic elements, you can really begin to harness love, compassion, tenderness, and even step into a more womanly or matured role in life. So the seneschal, again, speaks of a very matured perspective and not letting ego take you too far into different ways of thinking and ways of being. It can be very humble and very stable. The Page of Swords, again, is like this very happy, new, optimistic approach to something that you're doing within your mental field, within your mental energy, within the momentum that you feel intellectually, things that you're learning. You might not have very much experience in this element or in this way of being, but I think that you're going to be very brave and bold and curious moving forward. So again, it's just a really exciting reading. You know, there's a lot to be done within your emotional realm, within the value you hold within your life. But I think ultimately you will be shown the way, okay? There's very fated events to unfold within this summer. And especially in June, you will begin at least to see those unfold for you. And it's going to be in a beautiful way. I hope this helps, Sagittarius. I love you. I hope to see you again in July and see how this turns out for you. You guys have some major decisions, major energies going on, but you guys will handle them with the grace and ferocity that you are able to, that you actually have within you to handle this. So, you know, good luck, and I'm rooting for you. Let me know how this resonates with you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends. If you'd like a personal reading, I do offer personal readings, and you can access those, or access the link, rather, in the description box below. Good luck, Sag. I'll see you next time. Bye.